At his own wedding, he dropped the ring and walked straight past his bride, leaving her alone at the altar while he ran into the arms of his true love. But this was no ordinary woman. People said anyone who crossed Shen Zhiyi was headed for hell. When she was just 7, her father had an affair. While her mother could only cry, she calmly collected the evidence and had him thrown out of the house with nothing. At 18, after her grandfather died, she fought 7 other heirs and took over Shen Corporation. Now, at 30, the man she loved was abandoning her for another woman. As he walked away hand in hand with his lover, Ji didn't shed a tear. Instead, she pulled out her phone and gave a cold command to immediately short the Meng family's stock. She wouldn't be broken by his betrayal. She would make him pay. The next day, the internet was flooded with news. The Meng Group's prince had abandoned his powerful fiancé, causing their stock to plummet. Just 3 minutes earlier, her ex-fiancé Meng Yunchen had posted a photo of himself kissing his lover with a caption saying that this time he was choosing love. 4 days earlier at a party, his lover Lu Mo had deliberately drunk from his glass, leaving a visible lipstick stain. When Ji confronted them, Lu Mo said it was an accident, and Yunchen defended her, saying Ji wasn't generous enough. Later that night, Ji offered to cancel the wedding. She knew he had serious germophobia. He even insisted on separate plates, so him drinking from a glass with another woman's lipstick on it was a clear betrayal. But he refused to cancel, promising the wedding would go on as planned. Now, as his family's company was losing hundreds of millions, she calmly told her team to keep up the attack. Just then, Meng Yunchen's parents stormed into her office. His father immediately accused her of trying to drive their family to ruin. His mother was even worse, insulting Zhiyi as a broken shoe, 5 years older than her son and someone no one else would want. She offered a deal. If Zhiyi stopped attacking their company, she promised to force her son to break up with his lover and marry Zhiyi. But her assistant pointed out the obvious, that Ji had already become a citywide laughingstock, and that her son was openly flaunting his affair online. In response, Ji calmly threw a glass of water in the mother's face. She said she had only tolerated the mother's disrespect because she loved the son, but now that they were done, the mother meant nothing. She reminded them that her monthly revenue was 25 times their son's, and that half of their company's profits last year came from deals she had arranged. In 10 years, her wealth would be 1,000 times his. The marriage was always meant to benefit them, not her. The father began to beg, but Ji told him it was too late. If they had come to her begging for forgiveness, things might have been different, but now they had to pay the price for their son's actions. She coldly informed them that at the current rate, the Meng family would be bankrupt in 13 hours. As she told them to leave, her phone began to ring. It was Meng Yunchen. The man who had abandoned her at the altar was calling, but Ji ignored the call. He immediately sent an angry voicemail, shamelessly accusing her of being despicable for ruining his family just because he chose his true love. He said feelings couldn't be forced, and that if she really loved him, she would have let him go for his happiness. Unfazed, Zhiyi texted her assistant to keep shorting the Meng family's stock. She wanted to see news of their bankruptcy by noon the next day. She had never expected this outcome. She had fallen for him one rainy evening after seeing him, a man with serious germophobia, gently rescue a stray dog. For 3 years, she did everything to please him, showering him with expensive gifts and patiently waiting for him to overcome his fear and finally take her hand. But the hand he took on their wedding day belonged to another woman. When he called again, she picked up. He demanded they talk, saying the situation was bad for everyone, and his parents were falling apart. He offered a half-hearted apology and said he could find a way to restore her reputation if she would just stop her attack. Ji only asked what would happen if she said no. He exploded, screaming that he never loved her and calling her a monster for not letting him go. Ji coldly reminded him that she had given him the choice to cancel the wedding, but he chose to humiliate her instead. She told him that his family's ruin was the consequence of his actions, and then she hung up. Panicked, his lover worried his father would kick him out. But Yunchen only clenched his fist and said Ji had forced his hand. The next thing she knew, her assistant was calling in a panic. Meng Yunchen was on the roof of the company headquarters, threatening to jump and blaming her for everything. He was live streaming his suicide attempt to a massive online audience. He said he'd been forced into a 3-year engagement with a woman 5 years older than him who controlled his whole life. He claimed every piece of clothing he wore was chosen by her. But Ji remembered him being overjoyed when she gave him a rare custom suit and promising she would take care of him forever. He lied that she was so jealous she forbade him from having any female friends. But Ji recalled firing a male assistant because Yunchen couldn't stand another man being near her. He then claimed she used her money to become a major shareholder in his family's company, forcing his parents to bow to her like servants. As he painted himself as the ultimate victim, Ji sat in her car, calmly watching the performance. He ended his speech by offering his life to appease her and begging her to spare his family. Watching his act, Ji lit a cigarette. She had only planned to bankrupt him, but she decided that now that he wanted to play, she would play him to death. As reporters swarmed Ji, she ignored their questions and walked past calmly, not bothered by the angry crowd her ex-fiancé had stirred up. Inside her office, her staff told her the public backlash was severe. 3 major endorsements had been canceled, and the company's stock was falling. She wasn't worried and told them to just pay the contract termination fees. She said she'd handle the board members at a meeting the next day. But then her nemesis Lu Mo went live, crying to her followers and holding up a fake medical report that claimed Yunchen suffered from severe depression. She lied that Ji's controlling behavior and constant psychological abuse had pushed him to the brink of suicide. She urged the public to demand Zhiyi be fired. The tide of public opinion turned viciously against Ji. It was exactly what she had been waiting for. But it wasn't over. Yunchen himself showed up at her office, not to apologize, but to gloat. He told her she was finished and offered to help her save face. He stated his price. She would have to publicly apologize to him and Lu Mo at their engagement party, hand over 10% of the company's stock, and give Lu Mo 2 of her most prized possessions, a family heirloom, and the crown she was supposed to wear at her own wedding. He then demanded an extra 10 billion in cash. Zhiyi just laughed. She asked if he wasn't afraid he'd choke on his own greed. Her ex-fiancé stood at the altar with her sister, but just as he thanked her for leaving him, she walked into the church and declared she was there to reclaim what was hers. 3 days ago, this was supposed to be her wedding, but now it was a nightmare. Later, her assistant told her that her home had been vandalized and people were waiting outside. It was clear she couldn't go back. Public opinion had completely turned against her, driven by Meng Yunsheng, who went live on social media, crying fake tears and painting her as a monster, trying to ruin his family. She decided the perfect time to strike back would be at their engagement party, when public attention would be at its peak, and she could completely destroy Meng Yunsheng's carefully built lies. At her company, the board of directors, now swayed by the Meng family's influence and bribes, tried to force her to step down. Her uncle and even her cousin, Meng Yunsheng's cousin, whom she had personally promoted, turned against her and told her to lay low until the scandal passed. They said the company would be run by Meng's cousin while she was gone. She realized the Meng family had infiltrated her board. Unfazed, she submitted evidence of her past relationship with Meng Yunsheng, but they dismissed it, saying it didn't prove he had coerced her. They thought they had her cornered. But when Meng Yunsheng called to taunt her about the engagement party, she simply told him she would be there. She knew exactly what to do. Back in her dressing room, she got ready for war. Remembering how at 7, she had her father thrown out for betraying her mother, and how at 18 she took control of the company from relatives who tried to usurp her. She had never lost a battle, and this wouldn't be an exception. She gave them 1 hour. She placed an hourglass on the boardroom table and declared that before the sand ran out, she would bring the Meng family to ruin. If she failed, she would leave the company forever. But if she succeeded, every board member who betrayed her would pay the same price. As she walked into the engagement party, a vision of power and vengeance, the whole room went silent. Meng Yunsheng, stunned by her appearance, watched as she approached the altar, ready to witness his world collapse. He arrogantly announced to the wedding guests that his ex-fiancé was there to apologize. Standing at the altar with his new bride, he publicly shamed her and said that after all the damage she caused, she would now compensate the family and present his bride with a grand gift. His mother sneered that after dominating her son for years, Zhiyi was finally getting what she deserved. Her sister played the gracious victim and said she would accept the apology and even wish Zhiyi happiness soon. Meng Yunsheng, basking in his victory, demanded she hand over the gift. Her assistant brought forward a long, ornate box. Believing it held a priceless jade crown, the bride eagerly opened it, only to find a rolled-up banner. Meng Yunsheng snatched it and unfurled it for all to see. The banner read that a scoundrel husband and a promiscuous wife deserved to die. The room erupted in chaos. Enraged, Meng Yunsheng threw the banner down and screamed, demanding to know what it meant. She calmly said the banner was just an appetizer and that the real gift was what his bride was holding. Lu Momo looked down and saw a folded piece of paper. Her hands trembled as she opened it. It was a DNA test result proving the child she was carrying wasn't Meng Yunsheng's. He stared in disbelief as his perfect day fell apart and he realized his pregnant bride had cheated on him in one devastating blow. Furious, he tore off his own clothes in front of the horrified crowd and threw them at her feet as she watched, unmoved. She reminded him that even the shirt on his back had been a gift from her, and that if he wanted to sever all ties, he had to return everything. His mother called her shameless. But Zhiyi shot back that her son was the one planning to take his new wife to bed in underwear she had bought for him. Mortified, Lu Momo started ripping the clothes off him herself, screaming for him to give them back. In a fit of rage, he slapped her across the face. As the chaos at the wedding played out live for the world to see, the board of directors watched in horror as their company's stock plummeted. The public, now fully against the Meng family, called for a boycott of all their products. The board, realizing their grave mistake, quickly voted to remove Shen Zhiyi as CEO in a desperate attempt to salvage what was left of their reputation. Back at the church, Lu Momo fell to her knees, begging for forgiveness and pleading with Shen Zhiyi to stop. Zhiyi simply pulled her hand away, causing Lu Momo to fall and hit her head on a wooden box, knocking her unconscious. Meng Yunsheng rushed to his bride's side, screaming that his ex was a vicious monster. She calmly said the bride had hurt herself. No one believed her, and the crowd turned into an angry mob. Her assistant urgently reminded her she only had 10 minutes left. The groom begged her to stop, claiming her arrogance would only make the backlash worse. His mother joined in, pleading for mercy and asking her to forgive them for the sake of their past relationship. The CEO simply said no. At that moment, a man walked in and announced the board of directors had unanimously voted to fire her. He declared she was now nothing. Seeing this, her ex-boyfriend and his family could barely hide their joy. The man presented the official dismissal letter, and the crowd immediately celebrated her downfall, shouting that she deserved it. But the CEO just checked her watch and said her time wasn't up yet. Her enemies mocked her, believing she was finished. The man then ordered the groom to turn off the live stream and clear the room, claiming they had private business to discuss with the now-fired CEO. With the room empty, the groom stepped on a ceremonial banner and sneered that the tables had turned, saying her father was finished too. Only then did the CEO ask what they truly wanted. While this was happening, the company's board members watching the live stream panicked when it was suddenly cut. Believing the CEO would never give up her power easily, they decided to rush to the church to force her hand. Back in the empty church, the man revealed their true plan. He produced a contract that would transfer all decision-making power of the Shen group to his family, the Mengs. It turned out this was not just about firing her, it was a full hostile takeover. The groom's family and the Hmong patriarch began celebrating, gloating about controlling the company's billions and turning it into their personal cash cow. They laughed about how this was all thanks to the groom's past relationship with her. The CEO smirked and warned them not to choke on their own greed. They kept mocking her. Sure, she was powerless and at the end of her rope. Just then, her assistant rushed over, saying time was up and the entire board of directors was arriving. But the CEO just smiled. It turned out this was exactly what she had been waiting for. With all the traitors finally gathered in one place, her real show was just about to begin. As the traitors celebrated their victory, they mocked the CEO and told her she had nothing left. The bride called her a pathetic old woman, and the ex-boyfriend recounted how he had always despised her, saying he felt disgusted by their relationship. The CEO shot back that he had no problem taking her money and called him a spineless freeloader. The bride furiously defended him, claiming that without her family's wealth, the CEO was nothing. Annoyed, the CEO called them both trash, which enraged the groom. Just as he lunged at her, she effortlessly flipped him over her shoulder. His parents immediately demanded she apologize, but she refused and grabbed a ceremonial banner, declaring she would never give in to such ungrateful creatures. As they descended into chaos, she checked her watch. It was time. Just as the groom made one last desperate attempt to attack her, the doors swung open and the company's board members walked in, led by a man holding an hourglass. The CEO counted down from 3. At 1, she declared time was up and the Hmong family was finished.